On this episode of Amor Al Migrante, we are celebrating all things that related ahead of Father's Day. We have invited one of our Estrella dads to join the conversation.
It was just from one day to another. My son, he needed me, and he told me,
For that, like you said, it's just a providing part,
Yeah.
and then getting to a country because what you provided in the previous country wasn't enough because of different circumstances.
Right. You have to take on both roles, right? You have to be able to do everything. Like you have to be able to clean the house and cook the meals and
Take it to
manage
school.
the money and do the drop-offs and the pickups and the everything and the provider role and like do all of that.
As we honor and celebrate fathers, we also want to acknowledge all the immigrant fathers who cannot be with their children. This Father's Day and every day, we maintain that families belong together. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our podcast of Amor Al Migrante. Today, we're going to be talking about Father's Day.
That's right. Today we have invited from our Refugee Services Department, Raul. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Welcome.
thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So you are a dad.
Yes.
And your professional experience and your background has also allowed you to work and offer support for dads, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so we're going to be talking a little bit about that today, but we just want to start a little bit by getting to know Raul, have everybody get to know you a little bit. So just tell us a little bit about yourself as a dad.
As a dad, well, I have two beautiful children. I have a daughter who's 11 years old, a son who's 16 years old. I actually have full custody of my son. I'm a single father. Full custody of my
Nice.
son. He's been with me for going on 2 years now in July. Every day, it's hard work with my son. Considering his background, I've had to do a lot of a lot of homework with him, a lot of one-on-one due to experiences he's had in the past and stuff like that. My daughter, I get her every other weekend.
Okay.
So I don't get to spend that much time with her. That's something that I have to live with as a single dad.
Right.
They are from two different moms. So,
okay.
Yeah. But my daughter, she's actually with me right now. I'm gonna have her for the whole weekend. But yeah.
Nice.
Looking
Just in
forward.
time to celebrate Father's Day with you, right?
Yes.
Cool. And talking about experience, right? You have 16 years of experience of that as a dad, right? Nice. So tell us a little bit about like your professional experience, because you said you're a single dad, so that's already like two full-time jobs that you have
Right.
with your daughter, with your son,
Mm-hmm.
and now your experience working with the Refugee Services Department. Like, what is it that led you to work in that department? Like, how are your feelings? Because you work with refugees, right? So you work with family members, you work with dads and moms and family units. And what's your feeling? Like, what led you to work in that area?
Well, immigration has always kind of hit home due to the fact that my mother is, from Durango.
Nice.
From Durango, which when she migrated here to the States, she came here legally, documented and everything. She met my biological father, who was born and raised in El Paso. So I had a little bit of both worlds, Growing up with my parents, my father wasn't that much of a good dad. He was a deadbeat dad. So my first years remembering as a child, my mother, she was single, working two jobs. At the time, she had her residency, I believe, for many years. I learned a lot from her will, and
Nice.
the fact that she presented that to me at an early age, as far as being, still, having a background of coming here as a migrant,
Right.
So I grew up with that, and also just a lot of family members and friends. Growing up in El Paso, you see a lot of that. Some people are fortunate to have the help that they need to find a job and settle in here into the United States. Some people just don't have it. So,
Right.
growing up, with seeing that, that's something that I always had. Yeah. Held close to my heart, as far as immigration goes. Also, just with social work itself,
Social work. Nice.
So is your background in social work then? Or okay,
Yeah.
so what have you done before?
So before this, right before here, I actually worked in the oil field, so I'm a jack of all trades.
All the trades. Nice.
Master of none. Master of none.
Right. No, you gotta be right.
But right before, I was in the oil fields for 4 years. But prior to that, I did social work, mental health. I worked at UBH and Peak Behavioral. So I did utilization review. I was a caseworker. I worked hand in hand with therapists, psychiatrists, nurses, and just the whole hospital itself. My job was to do reviews for the patients to find more coverage for their insurance. And I did work with all types of population, from children to adults to elderly. And it could have been people with bipolar, people with psychotic issues, substance abuse as well. And, in that population, I did work with migrants as well.
Oh, nice. So what brought you to El Paso back from the oil field? Was it just because you're like, you know what, I just need a break from this, or like I want to be closer to my kids, or like what is it like made you switch from like here to here? Because it's a big jump, right? Like like oil, like you're working like outside in the field and everything, and now you're working with like people and family members and like like with their lives basically.
I mean, it was just from one day to another. My son, he needed me, and he told me, he held the.
Enjoying this podcast? For almost 40 years, Estrella del Paso has supported over 500 clients from 80 different countries thanks to people like you. And your support keeps this work going. During these critical times, help us continue by donating at estrelladelpaso.org. And that's it. Back to the podcast.
A lot of things, and he wasn't telling me the truth because he loves his mother. But, things happened. And as far as custody goes, it wasn't, how can I say, it wasn't a safe environment for him.
Right.
So, I went through the battle of getting custody of him. Left my job in the oil fields from one day to another. Of course, I give my 2 weeks notice.
Right. Note it.
But, I came back and, jumped right on, to get a job in social work,
Nice.
So I came back with the goal to help my son out and be a father, be a dad,
Right.
Step up to the plate, because, things weren't looking good with his mother.
Right. And especially because 16 years, I think your son is at the age where like he hates and likes everything at the same time, right? So I can imagine you're struggle like, man, like, what can I do? Like, don't like someone has like a guide or something for me on how to deal with a teenager.
I feel like 14 through 17 are really difficult ages for teenagers.
Yes, I think it's hard, and I think it goes back to the untold stories of dads of all the sacrifices dads make, like in the back, because like my example, right? Like I had my mom and everything, and I spent like when I was a kid, I would spend most of the time with her because my dad was out working, right? So I have these many memories with my mom, and I was thinking this morning, I was like, okay, like thinking about the podcast and everything, and it came to a conclusion that my dad sacrificed his memories with me to give me everything that I needed.
Right.
Like instead of like him spending time with me, he went out to work and made sure that I wasn't missing food in my table. I wasn't missing like my school uniform. I wasn't missing anything.
Right.
And I think it goes back to the same example that you have said, is just that, you know what? My kid need me, and I'm gonna go ahead and change my lifestyle, because basically you change your way of living to be with your kid. And I think that's something that we need to point out, that yes, of course, moms, they do everything for us, but I think dads are like underrated big time.
I agree.
That we like celebrate Mother's Day, their birthday, like like it's a big of like party,
right?
And Father's Day is just like, let's just have a cookout some steaks and you get
and call it good.
Yes. So I think that's something that not a lot of people recognize of dads. And you being in refugee services, of course, like you take care of kids, but you also take care of dads too, because you give them guidance, right? And because like the same as the kids, dads arrive here, they don't know the language, they don't know anything, they just know their culture, and we have the mentality that, oh, my dad is like almighty and he knows everything, he has a solution. But at some point you see them here and like, oh man, like what am I gonna do? So what is it like? You think that role plays a factor when it comes to helping refugees when they come like to Estrella del Paso?
Oh, most certainly. I mean, um, I, I guess when you look into the refugees that have moved into housing, that we place them in there, I would see a lot of the father figure, like kind of, how can I say, like with one family we work with, the dad, he felt like he could have done more, but just because of everything that he didn't really have much to offer, when you come here, like,
Yeah.
so we have to help him out with everything. So I feel like I kind of how can I say, like, I filled in that role
Yeah.
for this one particular family. He is a family of 5. He needed a lot of help with furniture, getting the kids enrolled into school and all that. Of course, they didn't know how to do that. I helped my coworker Jose. He's the one that was helped them a lot with that case as far as setting them up in their home. I mean, just helping them out with setting up their rooms, making their beds and all that, a lot of tools. He already knew how to use tools, all that, but just doing that with his family kind of, it felt like it was, I was at home, my own
Yeah.
Part of the family.
Dad, and, just seeing Dad, he seemed, like, stressed at the same time, but happy.
Right.
Happy and content. But we're there, as men as well, understanding what he's going through, and to kind of just, to tell him, don't worry about it, things are going to be fine, we're here for you, we're here to help you out. And I saw a lot of that, father figure that I kind of had to use in my role as a case manager for, refugee services, in that case. Also with the children, when they come, the families come. I like to talk to the kids, like I'm talking to my own kids.
Yeah.
Talk about school,
Nice.
how's school going, how your grades going. Are you learning more English? One of the kids, he's in high school. He already has a job. It's part time, but he's doing that too.
Wow.
So,
Dang.
so yeah, I mean, I use it with the dads. And I also use it with the kids. It's just that whole father figure all around.
Right.
All around. And also, my coworkers, sometimes I feel like I'm a dad. Go back to your office. I didn't have to say that.
Have you cleaned up your office? Hey, getting them in trouble.
But yeah, I mean, it's, to me, it's rewarding. And the fact that I am a dad. I've learned so much from that. It taught me so much to have, like, so much patience, compassion, better organization of my time, to show them, learn how to, handle your books as far as, grocery shopping, how much your finances, paying your bills, everything, And I'm pretty sure they have an idea of how to do that. But when you go to another country, how do you do it there?
Right.
How the numbers,
Systems are different.
exactly.
Fear is crazy, and it will play a factor in your mind that things that you do on a daily basis when you're home, like at home, you'll forget them because it's something so new, and you're like in shock, kind of a, in a way.
And another example too of, like, using those dad skills with a dad is another one of our clients. I mean, I can't use names, right?
Right.
Just the importance of having a job. I see this dad who really wants a job, and I try my best to help him find it.
Right.
Even 7 interviews with him to help him translate, because he only speaks what is it? Arabic.
Arabic.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, even though there's a language barrier there's still a lot of things that we can understand as a father.
Right.
But just just a simple job, and trying to help him find a job. I mean, I know how stressful that can be as a father, not having a job and having a family at home. So, that's another aspect that where I was able to use my father's skills in that.
Nice.
I know we talk about gender roles, right? And how we don't want to follow necessarily gender roles, but I think that culture and age, like generationally, that sticks with you, right? Like it's difficult to unlearn these things.
Yes.
And it's difficult for, I think, a lot of dads to unlearn that, like, I'm the man, I'm the dad, I'm the provider, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think that's really difficult for them to overcome, and then to come here and be in a position where it's like, I don't even know how to look for a job in this country, right? Exactly. So that's super challenging for them. Like that, just getting used to that, I think is overwhelming enough. But I can see how it would be helpful for you to be like, hey, like we can figure it out. I think that's why the services are so much more important, because it's like, hey, you're not alone in this. This is difficult for everyone, but let's figure it out.
It's like, like moms have that care. Like it's embedded on them,
right?
And for that, like you said, it's just a providing part, and then getting to a country, because what you provided in the previous country wasn't enough because of different circumstances.
Right.
You're like, you know what? You make that decision of like, we gotta go because it's not enough. It's just too much, right? And then you get to this country, and you're to a point you're like, ouch, like. Now what? Like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna do it? Like, and getting to a place where you have like Raul or Jose that help them out. It's like having that co-worker, and you're like, okay, I'm not alone. I know I can trust them to help me out and accomplish kind of my mission, which is keep my family safe and provide to my family, right? And I think those are like, and you were talking about like the skills that you provide to them, like stuff like that. I remember my dad too, like, like those are things that stay with you, right? Like you keep in the book, like, we have this much money right now. We spend this. We have this left. We're gonna save this, and there are many other skills, right? Kudos to my dad. Shout out to him, because he has saved me a bunch of money. He taught me how to do my oil change, maintenance on the car and stuff, like how to make like basic repairs. That if I go to the dealership, it's gonna be like
double
$200.
Exactly.
Yes. And I, thanks to him, I learned it like on my own. Of course, a few of like like, but I think it's part
otherwise,
of it.
It's fine.
Right. Otherwise, it was right. But I learned how to not do it and how to do it. So I want to shout out too, because that's like give you those like life skills that sooner or later you're gonna need them. And especially like if you have kids or if you have a family, your kids are gonna look up at you like, hey dad, like it's leaking. And like they already have the mentality, because I had the mentality of like, he knows the answer.
Yeah, he's gonna know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I remember my dad being like, what am I gonna do? And then next day he was like, let me see what I can do. Yeah. And then he will work it out, right? Yeah. So like I think like that's bringing you those life skills that are like they bring you keep forever with you.
And then even as like you were talking about being a single dad, so you step into every role, right? Like, we give moms a lot of credit for the things that they do, single moms, but like single dads is not as uncommon as we think it is, right? But it is though, right? It is kind of rare to see like single dads and doing it. And so you have to take on both roles, right? You have to be able to do everything. Like you have to be able to clean the house and cook the meals and manage the money and do the drop-offs and the pickups and the everything and the provider role and like do all of that. And I think that's super important for the families that you're working with to see that, right? To see that as a man, you can do both. You can help with the family and with the kids and with the household, and you can be a provider and still have a job. I remember when my mom started working, and sometimes she would work weekends and my dad was off the weekends, so Saturday mornings. And so when my mom didn't work, we, the typical cleaning, wake up, like the whole thing.
With the music.
But it wasn't any different with my dad. Like my dad would be like, get up, we have to clean. Like he let us sleep in like a little longer than my mom. Like he was a little bit nicer, but he was the same way, like of everybody, like get up, you're cleaning this and this, and me and my siblings, and he would cook breakfast and then you'd clean up after.
Same.
Like so it's a good example to see, like whether it's a single parent household or a dual parent household, that both parents are equally like responsible, or that they can do both, right? Exactly. That you can do whatever is required.
And I think that's another important aspect what you just mentioned there, especially when you come to the States, trying to, as a refugee, it's very important to show our clients that in the United States, there's no gender roles.
Yeah.
In this day and age,
Yeah.
there's no gender roles, and a lot of people have different cultures, in different countries. So a lot of them, they're not used to seeing a man in the kitchen, or a man cook, or
cleaning,
or a woman change a tire.
Right.
But here in the States, it's good to show them that. So I try to show them, my skills as far as cooking. Maybe I can show them a picture or something, or I can tell them, I do this and that. I go home and I have to turn to a mom for a minute there, and then back to dad. But,
It's like a switch.
But I mean, that's very important. To as far as being a dad and showing other dads, this is how it's done here.
Right.
And you have to be open-minded, especially if you already have your partner, you both be open-minded, help each other out,
right.
And just don't leave roles to each other as a gender role. Do everything equally,
And I think that's important for your daughter too, because I know that there's a lot of things that I've asked my dad to teach me how to do, and he's like, yeah, So I have I'm not going to change my own tire. I can change my own tire, but I'm not going to.
Or I'll leave it to someone else. Leave it to professionals.
Yeah, when I was in my 20s, I had this terrible car that I didn't want to get repaired, and I would get flat tires all the time. So I became a pro. That's why now I'm like, I have changed enough tires in this lifetime.
like the cars when they went to the pits.
Yeah, I was a pro record time.
I can see you like that.
But there's a lot of things, even now, I don't see an issue with it. I don't mind going outside and doing yard work, or pulling weeds, or doing these things. I just think it's super normal. It's just it's adulting / parenting, right? You just have to, you do whatever it is that needs to get done, no matter who's assigned job it is or whatever.
Right, duties or percent. Let me ask you a question, Raul.
Yes,
and I had this question my entire life. When you go on vacation, do you typically wake up super early in the morning and make a bunch of noises, or you sleep in a little bit more? Because I remember my dad being on vacation and 5 in the morning making noises in the restaurant. Sir, 5 in the morning. So let me ask you, you wake up early when you're on vacations, or you're sleeping a little bit?
I sleep in.
Okay. So I guess my dad is one of a kind.
No, my dad's the same way. We went to Mexico last year, and there were some places he wanted us to go to. They were 2 hours away, and he'd be like, okay, if we can be out of the house by 8, and I'm like, out of the house by 8? I haven't even awake by 8. But now, but he was always like that when we were young too. But now that he's older, he's more patient. And he doesn't wake us up. And I woke up super late, and I'm like, Dad, we're supposed to go. And he's like, pues no sé despertar. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
I learned.
And he's like, no, ya es muy tarde.
I know. I remember my dad too, on vacation, and then he would scout the whole block. There's a store over here, and then by 7 in the morning, there's a store here, and then a restaurant that we can go here, and then the bus stops here. And I was like, damn, sir, you did that one time you woke up at 7 in the morning. Yes.
No, yeah, I mean, growing up, the only time on my vacations, if my dad woke me up early, it'd probably be at 5 in the morning, to go do some work or something.
Okay. So you're nah, not today.
Come on, let's get up, and we got a job to do or something, But if no job, you can sleep.
You can sleep in.
Nice. And being as a dad with your kid, since you have a full week, what are some of the things that you enjoy the most doing with your kid? We really enjoy this.
Honestly, when I make dinner, or when I'm cooking dinner, especially breakfast, I love breakfast. And I have my kids there, talking to me, helping me.
Right.
Cooking is very therapeutic. I love cooking.
I hear that a lot, and I can't be convinced.
You just keep pushing that on me.
People, don't they?
No. I see.
But yeah, I love cooking, and that time is therapeutic for myself and my family, I guess, because we get to bond, I guess, and at the same time, showing them how to, cook whatever, and we're talking. We can be talking about what happened, yesterday or during the day, whatever time we get to talk, since I get my daughter every other weekend, there's a lot to talk about. So.
Yeah, just to catch up on the whole week.
Yeah. Right.
We girls, we're chatting. You have to know everything.
You know what?
Suddenly you know everything with like Claudia and Maria, and you know all her friends' stories, don't you?
Like,
He got me the whole cheese.
he's like, wonder what's gonna do Maria next Monday. Yeah, man, that's crazy. And I think it goes to show like to the soft, I guess not soft, like the emotional side of dads too. Because I remember too, right? My dad, he's been always like I guess like strict and like super firm when it comes to a different bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate, because if he wasn't like that, I wouldn't be here. Maybe I would have been someone else. We
agree.
grew up in Juarez, and it wasn't like a bad neighborhood, like a poor neighborhood.
Right.
But of course, you have like the cholos and gangsters,
Yeah,
people
for
like they influence you to do bad things, right? And I remember my dad being like, "Nope, 8 p.m. It's 8 p.m. and you need to be here 8:01 and forget it,"
Yeah.
right? And I think like my dad, I always had that image of my dad being like super like firm and like strict when it comes to stuff. But later on, I learned like, man, like how emotional he can be, and especially with the times to bonding.
Right.
We like to go camping a lot, right? So every time we go camping, like you see like a whole different side of him. It's like he's like all week working and stuff, and then he's like another person, and I'm like, oh,
Just a regular guy.
yeah, I was like, man, my dad has emotions. And you were talking about breakfast and those little things that we as kids sometimes don't see, but for you as a dad, it creates memories. And like maybe that one day you're feeling down and you're sad and you're like overworked and overwhelmed, or like different things going on in life, but you remember those little things and you're like, okay, I can pick it up. I can do better, and I think that sometimes we don't see that emotional side of parents or dads.
Yeah.
So dads, if you guys are seeing this, don't be afraid of showing your emotions, to give a hug, to say like, I love you, because sometimes, and I guess it goes back to being like, I guess our culture, like, oh yeah, dad is like macho, like pelos aquí, like, walking all tough, but like on the same side is like, dads love us and dads do everything for us.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Yeah, and I guess, a lot of dads, we have that misconception of that we have to be like, not show weakness, we have to be tough, and I mean, it's okay to show emotion, and it's okay to admit that there are weaknesses that you can work on and correct, but going back to the spending quality time with my kids, that's why I like the cooking part, because we can bond. I can get more information out of my kids that I need to know. Especially for my daughter, that I don't get to see her all the time. That, and also going back to that, saying I love you. Saying I love you. I always tell my kids I love them when we leave, when we don't see each other. I love you. Have a good day.
Powerful word. It's a powerful word, and it goes a long way. And once again, like those times that my dad has said I love you or has given me a hug, like I do remember those clearly, and like those memories stick really, really inside of me. And it's crazy because my mom said it a million times,
but it hits different from dad.
Yes. I'm not saying that my mom wasn't like honest, but like my dad feels like more like pure, I guess. More like, oh man, he meant it. He really meant it. Now another question, like going to another subject and being a little bit more touchy in a sense. Father's Day is coming. It's gonna be this Sunday. Mass deportation has been going on. Working at Estrella del Paso, you might have seen like the unaccompanied minors. How many kids, like how kids might spend their Father's Day without fathers, because they were separated because of deportation, or like this show that is going on. What is your intake on that? What is your input? What is it that you think? What is your perspective on that? How would you feel if you were to spend Father's Day away from your kids?
That's a tough question.
Right? I'm like,
just thinking about that question, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart, and knowing that there are dads out there like Mr. Well, I mean, when you mentioned Kimar,
Kimar Abrego, yes.
I mean, he's still under custody, so I mean, he's pretty much going to spend it with all his kids, like many dads are. I mean, if I was in that situation, I would be really heartbroken and honestly be very sad in the cell wherever I'm at. I would just start writing. At least write a letter to them and see if I can get that letter to them.
Yeah.
So they can read it, and so they can know that I was thinking about them on Father's Day, because I wanted them surrounding me on that day, which is very important for a father.
Right.
Just to see their absence like that it's very painful. I mean, kids are our appendages of us, I guess. In other words, so that's something that's hits the heart for me. It's
good, man.
I was
I couldn't
thinking
imagine.
I was thinking about that when you said at the beginning where you left your job and you came back, right? So you essentially you went to work for your children, right?
Yeah.
And then you had to travel. And when we talk about migration, it's as literal movement, right? Like movement between places.
Yeah.
So you moved from where you were and you came back to be with your son because your son needed you. And that seems like such a normal dad instinct, dad response.
Yep.
But that's what we're penalizing dads for in this country, right?
Yes.
For coming, for migrating, for going to a place where they can work to support their families, or if their children are here when you have mixed status families and they're moving to be with their children. That's something that I think we can relate to as a super normal thing, as being like, absolutely, this person wants to be a dad. They want to be present for their child. They just want to be with their family. And that is understandable. But once we insert international boundaries and immigration law and legal status, all of a sudden there's this perspective that that's not okay then that sacrifice is no longer worthy.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
that doesn't make sense to me.
Right? No, it's no different that being a dad and then being at a job place and then you're getting paid and it's not enough what you're getting paid. So you have to apply for another job to get to another place so you can make a good way of living. It's not different. Like you're went from one place to another place to make a better living with your kid and your son and your daughter. Same with people who came that are here. It's because they want to make it better for their kids. They want to leave a future for them.
Exactly.
And that future, and I've read a bunch of comments where like, oh, but they should do it at their country. So I haven't met a dad who hasn't actually, who has been on the couch just looking for opportunities and stuff like that. He's just been waiting for them to fall off the sky. So I think how things are playing out right now, we're penalizing exactly what Sandra said about people trying to give a better way of living to their family. I mean, it's just imagine even for people who are against immigration, imagine that you are not providing enough for your family. How will you feel if you go to a workplace and they say no? Why? Just because no? And look at your home,
and some of those things are so out of their control in so many of the countries that people are coming from. We know that there are country conditions that play a big role in that. So many people who worked in agriculture, and because of climate change, right? Now it's not viable. Nothing's growing. Now there's no place for them. Or we're talking about Venezuela, where their whole economy crashed. You know what I mean? How do you expect people to survive in certain conditions? Or where you have Haiti, where you have war-torn countries, right? You have these things that are going on that make it literally physically impossible to wake up in the morning, walk out and get a job. It's impossible. So it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I think I'm on the same boat, and it's sad that we've come to this this reality that we're living right now, that you see videos, right, of course, of people getting detained, grandparents, parents, dads getting detained at their workplace. I would say, okay, maybe you're getting detained where they're doing a drug deal or something. Okay, I get it, right? That's normal. It's a crime. But you're arresting these family providers at their workplace. Imagine you're at home as a kid. Your dad gets home 5:30. They watch 5:30. Nothing. 6, 7, 10. Where's my dad? And then you don't hear anything from it. I mean, I would just put that into their perspective. How would you feel if from one day to another your dad will disappear out of your life, and then find out days later that he's in another country? How would it make you feel? How can you live with that? you know?
I mean, even being the dad, just how devastated that feels.
Right.
Imagine.
Just everything, just your whole world just got crushed.
Yeah,
And
basically.
it's like, is it over? Like,
Right.
is it over? Am I going to be here for a long time? Am I going to have the right to due process?
Right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, yeah.
And the concern doesn't go away of worrying about that provider role, worrying about, is my family going to be able to pay rent? Are they going to be able to pay the bills? Are they going to be able to have food on the table because now I'm not there? Even if you have both parents working or both parents and a teenager working, right?
Yeah.
Like the family unit relies on each other. And when you take out a piece of that, it can't operate the way that it's accustomed to.
Exactly. And it's sad, and hopefully politicians and everyone gets to notice that families are what keep this country and every other country together. And if you destroy a family, you're taking a piece out of the country. And exactly like Sandra said it, at some point, the country is going to be missing so many pieces that it's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Because you're taking family support.
Yeah.
And it's sad, and I'm sorry to close the episode with this, in a sad tone, but like I just want to like bring that reality to people that dads go through a lot of things. They go through many difficult things. The same with moms, and it's time for us to recognize them both for everything they do, for everything they bring to the table, and for all the efforts to make their kids grow, to have families together, to provide, to keep that meal on your table, to keep the clothing on you. So I think it's time for us to recognize and learn that we need mom and we need dads in our families and in our lives.
Most definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Raul, to this episode before we close it out?
I want to give a shout out to my dad.
Nay. To Raul's dad.
So I was raised by pretty much my stepfather. And great man. He's the one that taught me everything. He taught me how to work from a young age. When I met him at 6 years old, from there I also happened to have a dad. So he was a hardworking man. He's a jack of all trades, and because of him, I know how to do mechanic, carpentry, everything.
Everything.
Very cool.
Nice.
He always told me never give up. There's a challenge in front of you. Don't get scared. Like, learn from it. If you fail once, go to the book, study it, whatever it is. It could be something that requires you to learn in books, or it could be a sport, anything, physical, whatever it is. You fail once, you get up, try again, keep doing it over, don't give up, So, shout out to my dad. Love you, Dad.
That's a big deal. Shout out to all the stepdads out there, right? Because that's also an important role. Like, for whatever reason, dads may not be in the picture, but to have a father figure is equally as important, right?
Absolutely.
It made the difference
Most
for
definitely.
you. So
Yes, most definitely.
In that tone, shout out to my dad too. Dad, thank you for all the así no se hace. But thank you more because you taught me everything I know about life. You push me to be better every single day, whether it was playing sports, whether it was being a good family member, good kid. Shout out to you, Dad. Thank you for everything.
my dad is actually the emotional support human for me. My mom had a temper, but my dad was so calm. And so, and like, even now when I throw down, I'm like, old, and I'm like, Dad, you're not gonna believe what happened today. And he's like not thrown by my dramatics. He's like,
Cool, calm, collective.
yeah,
Cool,
so
calm.
very much the person who brings me calm. So yes,
nice,
I also
nice,
appreciate
nice.
my dad for that.
Well, thank you guys. I guess that's all for this episode of the podcast of Amor Al Migrante. Once again, guys, thank you. I'll kind of encourage you all to go ahead and say I love you to your dad. To dads, say I love you to your kids. And I guess that's it. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Happy
Bye-bye.
Father's Day.
Bye.
This is the Amor Al Migrante podcast, Love for the Migrant, a project of Estrella del Paso, the largest provider of free immigration legal services in West Texas and southern New Mexico. This podcast is coming to you from El Paso, Texas, hosted by Sandra Ramirez and Cristian Trujillo. Please subscribe to the Amor Al Migrante podcast to be alerted about new episodes, and visit www.estrelladelpaso.org to support our work on the southern border.